part one 2 weeks ago. If you didn't join for part one, you might be wondering, oh, what am I saying, right? But you can easily catch up on that on our YouTube channel. The video will be uploaded soon, so you can watch the part one. Don't leave part two in case you weren't there for part one. You can stay for two and then watch one, and basically everything comes together. I promise you it is worth your time. I learned a lot 2 weeks ago from that class. Yeah, so I would like to ask, was anyone here for the very first session for the part one? If you were here, can you? Oh, yeah, thank you. And how was it? You can unmute your mic to drop your comments. How was it? What did you enjoy about the session? Yeah, for me, the session was amazing. I learned a lot. And from there, I started watching the video. And when I clicked on the link, I realized that it was Mosh Amedani. So I knew about Mosh last year because I was trying my ends on C#, so you can imagine. So it was really exciting, and Mosh is a very great teacher. So I'll just employ us, like we were here last week. Join. Yeah, Jacob.
So I was just
Yeah.
signifying present last time.
Sorry, I missed your question.
So it wasn't the question. I was just signifying that I was present for the last session.
Oh yes, how was it? How was it for you?
Like the tutor was able to break down SQL to the simplest form. Even participants on the call, we are able to testify to the fact that they try to practice and enroll for some courses, but it wasn't as simple as how the tutor broke it down in the simplest form. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. Bidemi.
Okay, yes. The session was very, like, it made it very easy. I think something that everybody has been saying is that, like, he made it very simple for us to understand. And I think I started to work with some data sets last week. I tried my hands on it, and like downloading SQL wasn't really easy, but I stuck to it until I got it on my laptop. So I'm really excited for today's session.
That's awesome. Thank you so very much. Yeah, and that's a comment. So thank you so very much. Okay, yeah. So before we get started, like I said earlier, this is going to be a practical demo. So we need 1 or 2 volunteers. That means you'd be sharing your screen alongside OLUWOLE, right? So yeah, if you're interested to, volunteer for the practical session, you can, raise your hand, show with a raise of hands. And yeah, so once again, welcome with me, OLUWOLE ADEBIYI. Just in case you missed last week, I'll go through his bio again. So OLUWOLE is a product manager at Moniepoint. He has had the privilege of working with some of Nigerian's top startups and even built his own venture, which was later acquired. His journey spans developing merchant plugins at Flutterwave, leading the front-end development team at Carrywise, and creating buy food and grocery platforms that collectively processed over 4.5 billion naira in transactions. Now he focuses on building business tools at Moniepoint to support businesses at scale. Hi, OLUWOLE, can you hear me?
Hi, Bridget.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Thanks, everyone. So I'm happy to be here again. Thanks, everyone. So I think I've seen some good results. Some people said they watched the video, and I'm very happy you watched it. And I think what I like to just say is that, like, not everything comes easy at first, right? Like, even down to me, right? I still try to learn new stuff daily, right? To like understand, like, oh, how can we approach this? So I don't know who spoke, but you mentioned that you were trying to, like, it was hard for you to install the SQL, but you made sure you're able to do it, right? And I think that's the first step to learning, right? Like, oh, it can be frustrating, but as long as you are willing to go ahead, right? That's the main goal. Basically, I'm going to get there. So I'm going to get started. Let me share my screen. Right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to be having the practical demo today, but before we dive in, right, let's just have some small lessons. So what's our agenda today, right? My agenda is to refresh our knowledge. I know you've learned some SQL. That's my assumption. If you've not, I'm assuming you know SQL a little bit, right? We know we are going to be like refreshing our knowledge with common MySQL data types. I'm going to explain what data types are. We're going to build a simple fintech wallet. I'm going to be learning how to use ChatGPT to help you get queries, right? So simplify your queries. And I'm also going to be learning how to use Metabase. So let's get onto it. So what are the even database data types, right? Let me see how to explain. So it's more of a programming concept, but it's like, how do you classify particular values, right? Like you have data. Data can be anything. It can be people's address. It can be the time you recorded some stuff. It can be content. It can be text. It can be numbers, right? For example, money. Or maybe you are storing employee details, right? You can have the ID, employee ID. You can have the salary of the employee. You can, so all this kind of information, there are data types in terms of SQL. Like example, the salary is going to be something called decimal because it can contain decimal. It contains numbers and decimal. So that's what salary is going to be. The address can be text because some people's address can be long, so it can be and it can be text. There is voucher and there is text. Voucher and text are both text, but voucher is used for smaller characters. So something like names, email address, account numbers, etc. So account numbers are numbers though, but we don't use decimal to store it or use integer to store it. I'm going to explain the reason why. So the reason why we don't use integer to store it, because numbers start from 0, 1, 2, 3, right? You can put like 0, 1, 2 or something like that as your account number. You can, your account number can be 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 1, 0, right? But if you put that in the number field, it's going to remove the 2 zeros in front because the other number that starts is 1. So for account number, I'm going to use a varchar, variable character string, to store it. So just to recap, there are more than these, but these are the common ones. We have integer, used to store whole numbers, where we have 1 to 100, then negative numbers is used to store it. Example, this can be like the employee ID, right? Maybe it's incremental 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an example of integer. Varchar, also known as variable character string, but commonly known as varchar, stores text up to a specified length. It's 255. That's the specified like common length, right? And it's suitable for names. Example: Bridget, Wole, Larry, etc. James.
I know they like.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard someone. Can store addresses, account numbers, etc. Then we have text. Text stores a big number, big character. Big. So example is if you are maybe storing blog posts, descriptions, comments, or long content, which can be a blog post. That's what text is used for. Then we have decimal, like I mentioned, even to store money. The common. There's also floats, but decimal is like always advisable to use, because you can specify the number of decimal places you want. So this, for example, allows 15 values. So in case you have rich customers that have like 1 billion, right, it's going to accommodate for it. And because our kobo is like two decimal places, that's why we have these two here. We can see example is 10,000 naira 50 kobo. Then we have timestamp, stores dates and time values, essential for recording when a record occurred. So time values I think is a very critical thing in database, right? It's something that lets us know when something happened. Like, okay, fine, you transferred money to someone, the money drops. What time did the money drop, right? So you want to have a column to represents that, and that column is always represented as timestamp. Then I think the last class I explained column and rows. Column is like your Excel sheets where you have the name of the values that are stored there, while rows contains the data. So let's dive in. I think that should refresh our head for those of us that learned SQL. So this is the task that is assigned to us, right? You are hired as a product manager at a new fintech startup. The startup wants to build the wallet system for its app. After conducting your research, you understand how wallet systems are built and how they maintain proper accounting records to ensure the books are balanced. You've also learned about double entry accounting and the importance in preventing bad bookkeeping. Who has done wallet system here? Anyone? Show of hands. Or who understands how a wallet system works? Okay, do you want to go ahead, Jacob? Or yeah, do you want to speak on it?
Okay, so let me just try.
All right.
All right, so how we use wallet system here, it's wallet system is just like a virtual account system, like a mirror that mirrors the original account. That is, you can have multiple wallets that speaks to just one account, and just like how what's how do I use an example now?
You want to mention a bank or a fintech?
Okay, so let me use an OP for instance. An OP, you can your phone number is like a wallet. It's not the normal account. So your phone number cannot store money. You get because OP as a okay, let me just use OP again. So OP requires a normal commercial bank for them to do transaction because they don't categorize them as a bank, but a fintech. However, they need to open a settlement account with a settlement bank for them to settle all of their accounts. So that is for in POS system. They don't have the license to generate CIDs, so they leverage on a commercial bank as an acquiring bank to generate CIDs. So that CIDs they have to create individual wallets to tie those CIDs and open a singular settlement account, right? So where the acquiring bank would settle all of their funds and float.
Accounts,
yeah. So that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for that. Yeah. But does anyone know how, like, maybe as money is entering that virtual wallets, like how the balance is maintained? Does anyone know about that? Like how to make sure that okay, as 100 naira coming, it's not safe, or maybe 100, 200 naira coming at the same time. We make sure that everything is calculated. Does everyone have any knowledge of that? Okay. Well, yeah, we're about to learn about that here in this small course. It's not that it's not that deep, but it's enough to give that knowledge, right? So I'm going to show how both PMs are good, right? But how a PM without SQL knowledge is going to write their PRD, and how a PM with SQL knowledge is going to write this PRD. But let me explain something. There's something called accounting, double entry accounting, right? And what it states is that for money to come in, so this is like me, I've done proper research, right? So money has to come from somewhere before it's credited somewhere. So let's say you have an OP account and you get credited, right? The money is coming from somewhere. Like how are you putting money into the account, right? And how are you removing it? If you are sending the money out, it is leaving your own account, going somewhere, and you have to create record of all of this. So I'm going to show how both PMs they have knowledge of this, right? But one does not have SQL knowledge and one has SQL knowledge. So I'm going to show you the one that has SQL and that does not have SQL knowledge, how it looks like. So this is his wallet system for a fintech startup. This person has no technical knowledge. So they write we are literally building something like maybe Kuda Bank, right? Don't be poor like me. 0 naira, and we have some transactions. Basically, this is what we are trying to build. Being able to money the wallet into the accounts and being able to do the transaction. As the transactions are coming in, is reflecting on the balance, right? And each transaction is going to have its own fees. Let me scroll down. So if you enter a transaction, right, you can see the fee, right? That is the example, but Skoda gives 0 naira, right, for this, right? So that is like the fee for that, but each transaction is meant to have its own fee. But behind the scenes, right, like behind the scenes, there's something called a ledger system. It's not visible to us, the customer. But as a PM, right, like when I'm carrying out this research, I heard about ledger systems and I'm like, okay, fine. I think we need to implement something like, I'm going to explain what the ledger system is again. I explained earlier, but as you are showing these transactions, right, like I mentioned, money is coming from somewhere, is going out somewhere. As it's entering, as Donald sends this money to me, as entering my account, there is one Kuda credit system, right, that is crediting this account. It's not just coming, it's like a core banking application. Let me just put it that way. A core banking application has a real ledger system, right? I have learned about this. So as a PM, like let's say I don't have technical knowledge, I'll just put what I've seen, maybe like on Kuda here, right? I'm going to give an example, like, okay, fine. We want to create wallets for each user. Every user that joins, we give them a wallet. We want to display the real-time wallet balance to the users. We want to record both credit and debit transactions with descriptions and timestamps. We want to show the balance and history reporting. As the user wants to check my wallet balance, as the user wants to view my transaction histories, including fees for full transparency. As a system, I want to ensure every credit has a corresponding debit. You are putting it there. You've read about it, right? You are putting it there. Then acceptance criteria, wallets are created with unique IDs, transactions are recorded, blah, blah. You're letting the technical person know this, right? But technical person did not go and do the research with you. And what is going to happen? Let's say we've shown the screenshot to the designer and shown the screenshot to everyone, right? They are going to just create a system that just shows this, that records this transaction with their fees and has the wallet balance, right? Without creating that ledger system. You've done your own research as a PM, right? This is not on you. But the engineering manager, right, or maybe the engineer has never worked with like a fintech system, but has read these documents, right? He's not going to go ahead to just create this transaction table and the wallet table and call it a day. But because you've done that research, you know that you in your mind, you know that it's beyond that. It's not just by creating wallet system and transactions table, right? You need to have a ledger system. But he does not know, him or her don't know how that ledger system is meant to work. And that is where if you know SQL, you'll be able to document that for the PM, for the engineer, and you and the engineer can now start talking like, oh, why is this table available? I'm going to show you how that's going to look like for a non. But just before we continue, this is a straightforward product requirement document, right? Does everyone understand what we are meant to do here? We are creating a wallet system where money can come in, we can see our transactions, we can view our balance. That's it. We're not talking about transfer or any of that. We just want to be able to view our balance, and every money that is coming in, everything, and going out, the system is keeping records of it. Does everyone understand that? All right, perfect.
Yes.
So if we go with one with technical knowledge, right? You just put the same thing, basically what the person without technical knowledge has written. So someone that just knows SQL, doesn't even know how to know the programming language or anything, just SQL alone. I'm just giving you example. This Edge gives over some of the same knowledge, like they've done the same research, they know what it is, right? But the first one person is not knowledgeable in SQL or does not even know any technical, has no technical knowledge. And the second person is knowledgeable in SQL, right? So this person has written almost the same thing with what we have in that place, right? But now they are breaking it down, right? Data requirements overview, right? We can see each user wallet should have a wallet with a unique ID and balance. The wallet balance should always be up to date and reflects all transactions. That's one. Then we have the transactions table, right? So transactions table is this place, right, that I said that you're able to see, like, okay, we have recipients, we have this, the amounts, and we have the fees, right? So we can also like hold that in, right? Like we have the transactions, whether it's credit, so it's going to indicate if it's a credit or a debit, any transaction fees that were applied, the bank and account number of the recipient if applicable, the date and time when transaction occurred. By the way, this is a simple wallet system. Other systems going to have maybe like if there is what's called again, like if you bought airtime and all of that, right? But yeah, let's just use this as an example. So we have all of this, right? The amount involved in the transaction, we have the fees, we have that, right? So like I mentioned, the initial person will have stopped here, but because you've done your own assignment, I know that we have to have a ledger that tracks the accounting accuracy. So we will now introduce accounting accuracy, ensure every credit has a corresponding debit to maintain consistency, track all changes to balance to prevent discrepancies, provide an audit trail for all transactions. So as you're adding a transaction, maybe a manipulator went to go and edit the balance on the database. This accounting thing we are providing is going to help us make sure, I'm going to give an example, it's going to help us ensure that we can make sure the balance is correct. So that's why this is introduced. And because UNESCO are going to give example of this, right? So we have the ledger table. So you can see it's int, virtual, decimal, timestamp, right? This thing is in action. So we have the ledger, right? And the ledger, look at it as core banking application. So example, when GTB, when they wanted to like, I don't know if you know about last year when they decided to change their core banking application, it's something like this. This is the simple part. It has ledger table and it has ledger history. That's the simple part of it, but that's how it works in those systems. Then GTB now has the wallets, then now connects to these ledgers and everything. It's ledger that calculates the balance, make sure that it has the ledger history and all of that. So we have the ledger table, right, which has the name, the account number, and the balance. We have the ledger history, which contains the amounts that happened. So let's say money comes in, it's going to be maybe like the person received 500 naira, it's going to be 500 naira a year, right? And let's say person sends 100 naira, it's going to be minus 100 naira here. So this ledger history like tracks everything one by one. Then we have the user wallets, right? This user wallet plugs to the ledger. So let me explain the table for the user wallets. We have the ID. ID is the primary key, the unique identifier for that wallet. We have the user ID. So let's say we have a user table. Let's say Wale is a GTB user, right? I have a table that stores that user information, stores everything about me there. But which wallet belongs to Wale? So this user ID is what points to what belongs to Wale. This is what's called a foreign key. It might be complicated now, but just hold it. Like when you're learning SQL, just remember that, oh, there was something Wale mentioned called foreign key. So this user ID helps us point to something called user table. And this is the user wallet table, which owns the user ID. Let us know who owns this wallet. The same thing as this ledger ID, right? This wallet points to a ledger over here. And we have this ledger table. So we have maybe the account number in this ledger. We have the wallet that displays this ledger. Then we have ledger history table, right? So the ledger history shows how the money is coming in. So I explained this ledger ID belongs to this ledger here, right? So we only want to know, we'll get to the interesting part where we are looking at all of this, right? But let's just go with the flow. So we want to know, we want to know who owns a particular, like the transactions, which ledger it belongs to. We can track it from this place. Then we now have the transaction table that stores the nice things, right? This does not calculate the balance for us. It just stores the nice things. Example, the recipient's bank, the recipient account number, the amount, the fees. It stores all of that on this table. Then we have balance calculation. So because I know how to do SQL now, right? I already tell the engineers that don't just calculate the balance anyhow, right? Balances will be derived from the ledger history table to avoid manual errors, right? You don't want to just be doing like, oh, okay, well, let me just add the last transaction that came in, let me subtract it from the balance here, and let me add new balance if they send them money, right? Ledger history is the source of truth. So we have that, and I now continue with the normal PM flow, right? The thing is, if I hand over this to my engineer, right, questions we're going to, they will look at it, they will see this table, and questions will arise, right? And we can communicate better and be like, oh, okay, why is this needed? And you explain to them and they get it. And like, oh, okay, so that's how it works. I have to tell them that that's how it works. You even show them evidence like, oh, this core banking application I researched uses this. This research uses this. And now you are in sync, right? Because he knows how, like, you know how it's meant to be, and you've explained to him. Into he has gotten more knowledge because you shared that knowledge together already, and it's now like there's no way the product will not be successful because you solve the technical parts for him, even though you've like researched on the products, and him too, he has learned something new, and he's going to make sure that once he or she is working on this, they get it right. And you too can be following like, oh, okay, I've created a table. You might have a better idea than the table you've created, but you understand what he's doing, and you know that, okay, fine, he's going to still give us the end results of what we need. And if that is yes, they continue with it. So I'm going to be building this. I'm going to be giving an example of like us building this table. But by the way, before we continue, I'm hoping I've not like over. Does everyone understand like this system? I'm going to explain better now, right? So that we'll create this table. So we're going to look at how it looks like. Makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to share my other screen. Then we'll have people contribute. Give me a moment. Where's my database? Why is it hiding? Okay, send it. You guys should give me a moment, right? So I can. Good ledger 2. I'm going to share my DB now so that you guys can see it. I'm just trying to get the environment set up. All right, can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, to be shared. This is going to be shared, by the way. So this is my database, right? I'm just going to be creating. Let's assume I'm the engineer also. So on the PRD, right? I've seen that, okay, we have this ledger, we have ledger history, we have user, we have transaction table. Good, makes sense. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I already have all of this here. Ignore the complexity of this, but yeah, to create a table, right, is you write something called create table. You put the name of the table, so which is the first thing, ledger, right? And I'm going to move this account number to wallets. I think it's better it's there at the wallet. So this is what things like engineering managers can do. It does not have to be perfect from your own end. It just giving more clarification to the engineering manager. So we have ID, we have the name of the ledger. I can even put the name too on the wallet as like, I think the ledger should just hold transactions. So we have ID, we have the balance. So the balance comes from the ledger, not from the wallets, basically. I'm going to explain that soon. So I'm going to be creating the ledger. So create table, ledger, then we open brackets. It's almost like programming. Don't let it intimidate you. This thing is just gradual learning, and you're going to get there, right? Then we now have, we're going to put the ID. Integer, not null means that we can't have an empty ID. Then auto increment means it should increase by 1. Don't let this confuse you, right? I'll probably remove this not small, but let's just leave it like that. Just know that ID is mostly an integer. It can be another thing, depends on how the engineer structure it. Then we have the balance, right? This is what's going to start our balance, which we now have decimal, 15 because we have rich customers and in 2 decimal places. I want to default to 0 naira. So when I create a customer, when a customer comes in, we don't want to give them new amount of money, right? We don't want to default to 0 naira. Then it was created at particular time. Created at is to help us know when this wallet ledger was created. Like I mentioned earlier, having timestamps are kind of important in databases, right? So that we know when things are done. When there's also something called updated that to know when things are updated by who, etc. But let's keep it simple for now. So we also have something called primary key. Primary key is like the key identifier. So we'll create the ledger. I'm going to rush through the other one so that we do not spend time on this. We can go into querying because this is going to be mostly done by the engineers. I also go into creating the ledger history. I also have everything here so that I don't. So ledger history is what helps us store the history of them. I'm going to explain this also. Then we now have the wallets, the user wallet. I'm not going to name it wallets. And the wallet is going to have the name of the wallet. I don't even think it needs name. The username is the user's name, but let's say it can be maybe Wale1 or something like that. So I'm just going to put the name of the wallet, and it's going to be voucher. So I told you voucher is for small stuff. So voucher not null. Then we'll have account number. So we have account number. Account number is this. So this number you're seeing here, right, is the maximum character. Voucher supports 255 by default. So I can't put 256. It's not going to work, right? So it's supposed to 255, but since account number is just 10 digits, right? I can just put 10 here. Then created as the same thing here. Ignore this key, don't let me complicate things, but just know that I'm just putting it here for now. Just ignore it for now. So don't let it complicate things, but it's something that you learn along the way. Then we're going to also have the transactions table, which I also have here. So we are going to have the transactions table. Ignore all of this. Please don't let it confuse you. Just know that it's for learning purpose. At the moment, we're going to use the one. Okay, I made a mistake. User wallets. There's no user wallets. It's just wallets. Just look at that. Sorry, guys. I need to fix this. Okay, should work now. All right. So we have our tables, right? We have the wallets, we have the transaction, we have the ledger history, we have the ledger. So the way a ledger works, right, is let's give example OP, right? I'm going to create each ledger, right? Oh, that's why I added name here. So I need to add name on this ledger. I'm not going to do a quick add so that we don't. So this should be voucher and save. So this is an example of good GUI. I don't have to write all of it with the command. Can everyone still see my screen, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So so let me just clean this up, right? So example, an OP is going to have an inflow account and you have an outflow account. I'm going to explain all of this, right? So to put data into the ledger account, let's say we're just creating system for the first time. This is OP, CBA, core banking application. What we're going to have first is insert. So insert is used to insert data, right? So insert into ledger, which is the good ledger. Yes. Give me a moment, sorry. So insert into ledger, which is this value. The ID. So we don't have to insert the ID, right? What we just have to do is, because the ID is auto-generated, created that is auto-generated, balance by default is 0. So what I have to do is to insert, is just to insert the name alone, right? So we can create that either through this GUI or call or write an insert statement. So we'll just continue insert into ledger, then we'll put the name. Then once we put the name, the next thing we're going to do is to put the values of what we want to have, right? So insert into ledger, just the name, then now put the values. So values is, we'll name this OP inflow accounts. I'm going to explain this. So this, in case anybody wants to build wallets in the future, this is a free knowledge for you to build it. By the way, this is simplified, but it can help out. So we've created the OP inflow account. And once we go to our database and refresh, we can see it has entered already. OP inflow account, like I mentioned, the balance is going to be auto-generated, default to 0, and it is created at this time. And this is the ID. And another one we can have again is OP outflow accounts. Outflow accounts. The same thing. Name. Yeah. Then we can now have something called OP revenue accounts. So I'm going to be using all of it. I'm going to explain why all of this is important. These are not user wallets, these are just ledgers, but we have one central ledger, right, which is everything here. So for me to, who can give me an idea on how to retrieve all my ledgers using SQL query, not going through the GUI? Who can give me an idea? If you've done run these queries before, if you've done the SQL, can you give me an idea on how to retrieve all the ledgers? Nobody? So nobody knows how to do selects all from. Okay, let me just continue. All right, so we're going to have selects. So we can get only the name and maybe created, when it was created at. So that's the column on this from ledger. So basically what I'm just saying is, give me the name, give me the time it was created at from the ledger, right? So that's the name of the table. And once I run this, it's going to show me all of this here. So we have OP flow accounts, OP outflow accounts, and OP revenue accounts, all added here, right? And what I want to do again is, like now, we want to now create a wallet. So we've discussed with the engineer, like every wallet that is created must be associated to a ledger. So we'll create the first ledger. I'm going to use somebody here. I'm going to use Claudia Musa. So I'm going to create Claudia Musa's ledger accounts. So I'm going to name it ledger, right? And we are not done yet. We need to create the wallets. And let's imagine that we have the wallets. What are the fields we have? Wallets? In wallets, we have the name, we have the user ID, ledger ID, and account number. So as I'm going to put the things we need to generate. So we have the wallet ID, ledger ID. And how do I get the ledger for Claudia Musa? I have it here. That is ID 4. Or wait, sorry, no, that I did not select the ID. So I have it here. So you can see as I did new column to fetch, I'm able to see it here. So Claudia Musa's ID is 5. I'm going to put the 5 here because this is ledger ID. Then I have the user ID. So let's imagine Claudia Musa is our first user. So which likely the ID might be 1. Then we have the account number. And who joined Kudas like when they first launched that year, right? So some of us, we have these account numbers of something that is 1, 2, like something like this, right? And it was like fun, basically. So let's just imagine that this is the account number I want to assign to their Musa ledger. I'm sorry for seeing how banks create this thing just behind the scenes. And I'm going to run this unknown column. Okay, I forgot to add. Okay, so we have name, ledger ID, user ID, and we have account number. Why is it throwing an error? Name, ledger ID, user ID, account number. Give moments, guys. Oh, sorry, I've seen the reason. I used the wrong string for this. Apologies. Okay, so now we inserted into the wallet and we can see Claudia's wallets. This is our wallets, and if I should go to our ledger ID, she has balance of 0. So let's say someone from GTB sends money to Claudia, right? So what's going to happen now is we are going to have the same insert, right? This is how the backend is going to run it. We're going to have transaction, right? We're going to call the same inserts. Insert into transaction. And we have the wallet ID. Our wallet ID is 1 from what you can see. If you go to the wallets, you can see our wallet ID is 1. So we are going to insert into transaction wallet ID. Ledger, no, not ledger ID, amounts. I'm going to do one sample of this, right? And we're going to put the fees. We're going to put the type. So if it's credit or debits, I'm going to explain this soon, right? But we're going to put all of this, the route ledger history ID. We're going to add this. We're also going to add the transaction ledger history ID. I'm not sure we need the route, to be honest, but yeah, let's continue. Company name, fees ledger history ID. So we'll add all of this and we'll record our transaction. I also record the ledger. But I'm not going to go too far on this because I think time is far spent gone, but we just insert into these transactions. So I'm going to go into this good ledger. I have a sample data here already, right? Where we have people's wallets and their ledger, right? So example, I'm using this Moniepoint. I'm going to change this to OP so that OP inflow, OP outflow, and I'll put OP company revenue. So for every money, let's take this wallet for example, right? This wallet is owned by Grace Agilore. So for any money that enters Grace Agilore's account, right? Example, I can run a query. Let me run a query. I can do where's it again? Okay, so I think everybody here is okay, yeah. So I can do select star from, ignore this, all of this. Yeah, so I can do select star. So star is to select all columns from transaction where wallet ID, because Grace Agilore's wallet is ID 1. So where the wallet ID is equals to 1. So once we have that, we can see all the transactions for Grace Agilore, right? So we can see the description, we can see this, we can see the bank they sent it to, where it came from, and all of that, all put into here. And with this information, we can achieve this list of transactions here. Just giving an example of that. We can really achieve this list of transactions. So this is high level, right? But what now happens now is, let's say now you want to like get data. Like you want to get data, you can easily see that, okay, for all the fees, like how many fees have we collected, right? Like how much fees have we collected? So you can just do select sum fees from transaction and run that query. And it's going to give you the amount of fees you've collected from all your transactions. Example, this is 16 naira. This is something that you can run easily as a PM if you have all of this data. So what I'm trying to explain is, because this was built very well and your engineer followed this, you're able to explain to your engineer what you need with your SQL knowledge. You can easily run data on this without sweating or breaking a sweat, because you didn't have an engineer that just implemented what they assumed from your PRD. So we have select some fees from transaction. This is going to help us get the total fees we've processed. If we want to get the total fees we've processed from this Grace person, we just put where wallet ID is equals to 1. This because that's Grace's wallet. And we're going to run it. And okay, since Grace has only processed 16 naira from 2, we'll see that we've not collected any fees from wallet ID of 2. So in a real scenario, a PM will not going to have access to the direct database. What they will have access to is metabase. And also, sometimes it's not possible for you to remember all the SQL queries in the world, right? And that's why I'll now be looking to how we can use AI to help us understand our data structure and how AI can help us create queries that we can use to get information. Before we go, I think someone wanted to ask a question. Okay, I thought someone raised their hand. Yeah, by the way, I know this might be looking a lot, right? But the secret to this is, I'm coming, sorry, I'm going to bring you up now. The secret is this is for us to just learn what we can learn at the moment, so that once we are learning outside of this class, right, we can remember what's like, oh, this is what Wale was speaking about, and okay, now this makes more sense, right? So yeah, don't try to learn everything here, but it's that I'm going to share this slide and everything, right? It's just to help you understand everything. Yes, Ayo. Hello, Ayo, you raised your hand. Hello. Okay, so before Ayo comes, okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so I was saying that what tool is this that you're using to query your SQL and all that?
Okay, so this tool is called the tool I was using before was called what was it called? Table Plus, yeah. So it's called Table Plus, right? And it's used to like for backend engineers. It's not going to be used by PMs. PMs use things like Metabase and so, right? A PM will not. I mean, this is what I was using before was used mostly by an engineer. I don't have to just run some queries to just show how this works. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you're saying that?
I'm saying what? Sorry, please continue.
So you're saying what you're using was Table Plus, right?
Yes.
But as a Metabase to do that same to run those queries as well, correct?
So I was running insert queries. APM will not probably. So what that is called is writing to the database. So writing database means you are putting information into the database. What PMs will be mostly be giving access to is to read from database. But let's just share how writing the database works so that you know how to put information. So you just have that knowledge at hand, right? But what you'll be doing most of the time is reading from the database. And I'm going to be starting with, this is Metabase, right? I'm going to show you how this currently works, right? So this is the database, the good ledger database, right? Where we have the ledger, we have the user wallets, we have the ledger history, we have the transaction. On the ledger, we have OPay inflow, OPay outflow, OPay company revenue. We have all of this, right? And we have also the user wallets, right? That holds the wallets of everything, and we have the transaction. The transaction, like I mentioned, is for us to show the transactions on the facing part of the customer on the banking app, right? But what holds the balance is this ledger history. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to show you an example of something. Just give me a moment, right? It's 28,000. Yeah. All right. So at the moment, these are all the history of ledgers that are coming in, right? Like, and we have this ledger here, right? OPay inflow, right? So I want to see all the money that OPay has been sending, like has been giving out, right? Like, what are all the credits? Like, what are these transactions? I can go into Metabase, into this editor, right? It's very, very simple. You don't have to learn SQL queries, but it's very, very simple. I can go into this editor, and we have this fine UI here. right? So we have our ledger. Then there's this button called join data, right? So I want to join data with ledger history. And it's going to ask like where do I want to join it. So remember that thing I called foreign key, right? This is where it becomes useful. So we have the ledger ID, which is here, and we have the ledger history, which has ledger ID, which points to this ID. So I've selected both of them, which helps us select it by default sometimes, right? So I now want to filter, I want to get by OP's ID, right? Which is 1, inflow. I want to get the inflow, which is number 1. Once I visualize, it will show me all the transactions that made this 83,400. So we can see we gave out 3,000 first, like all the money that's coming in is 3,000. 3,000 plus 40,000 is 73,000, sorry. 73,000 minus 400 is 73,400, and plus 10,000 is 3,400. You can see everything is adding up, right? So as your PM, you are trying to see what is going on. You are trying to see all of this are adding. And the reason why is because this data adds up. Sorry, what did you... Okay, let me answer the question. Are you saying that the sheets where you are querying from is not part of SQL per se? Can you, Somi, please, can you come in so that I can clarify the question more? So I can get it. I didn't understand that question very well. Hello, Somi.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, you are talking about the sheet. And you mentioned that sheet, but I can't really pick the name right now. But you
This
are
is the
saying
meta
that
bit.
yes. That it's not, is it not part of SQL? You say it's only developer that use it, that
Oh,
PM don't
no.
really use it.
So what I was saying, let me clarify. So I was using one tool earlier, right? Which is what, I don't know who asked that question. I was asking that, what's the name of the tool I'm using, which I mentioned. The name of the tool is Table Plus, right? And it's mostly used by the backend developers. Like I was just using that to show how you can insert data. PMs are not going to be inserting data into the database. What they're going to be doing most of the time is going to be reading data. They need a visualization tool, which connects to the database that they currently use, right? Which is Metabase. Metabase is a visualization tool, and you can actually query data, right? There are a lot of visualization tools out there. There is Metabase, there's Power BI, there's a lot of that, right? But Metabase is pretty common and it's really easy to use. So what I meant is that tool that I was using earlier is basically like used by developers. Why this is what PMs are going to focus on. This has been connected to your data. You have more what's called again. You have more, it's for you to be able to visualize your transactions, see your balance and everything. So that's what that is. So there's another, does that answer your question, Somi, by the way, before I move on?
Yes, but PM can also use it as this developer use it as backend.
Yes,
PM can also use it.
Yes, they can use it if they want.
Right.
So what I was using before, I think that's what is causing the confusion. Let me present on my screen. So what I was using before was this thing here, right? Is a database GUI, right? So it's used by the backend developer. PM2 can use it if you want to have access to this, right? You can also use this, right? But it's mostly used by the backend developer, the engineers, to like put in data. So you can see I'm running a lot of insert data right here. And where's it again? Okay, I think I can't find this, but I was inserting data. Okay, I think it was on this one. So yeah, I was inserting data into the transaction, right? As a PM, we won't be inserting data. It's not a common thing for us to insert data. What we are going to be doing is reading data, understanding data more, right? Basically, that we are going to be doing. So that is where Metabase comes in, because we won't be using a tool like this. Metabase is always like a tool built by the company so that PMs, data scientists, engineers, managers can come in and view data, right? So that is why this is. We've not even gotten to the good part of this place yet. I'm going to get to that soon. So, but yeah, that's the difference between what I was using before, which was a database GUI, and this is a visualization tool that can connect to any type of database, which is example MySQL, which is what I've done here already, right? So I can now come into this place and get information that I want to get. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, so Kingsley, do you want to speak, or I should answer your question here?
Yeah, answer my question. Yeah.
All right, so we have transactions and we have ledger history, right? So like I explained on this graphic interface here, right? So the transaction just help us to hold data, right? It does not help us calculate the balance. The ledger is what helps us calculate the balance. So these transactions, yes, come from that transactions table, but what gives us the true form of the balance, right, is the ledger table here, right? Ledger history table here. This transaction is just to show information of the transactions. And I'm going to explain, right? So we have this user wallet, which is this person here. So we have 3 users, right? 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to want to see information about user ID 1. So first, I'm going to open this editor, right? We have wallets, right? I don't need to see all this information. What I just need is the ID of the wallet, right? I'm going to join with the ledger. So I'm going to join with the ledger history. And ledger history is going to have, like I said, the use of foreign keys for us to join tables. So on the user wallet, we have the ledger ID, and it's going to plug to this ID here. So that we can join multiple tables together. So once we've joined it together, the next thing is for us to also join the ledger to it. So I'm going to be joining this ledger. So we have the ledger history, and user wallet. So I'm just showing what Metabase can help us do, right? So I'm going to on the ledger, I want to see the name. I don't need the ID. I want to see the name, the account number, and the balance. That I need to see, and I want to visualize it, right? So I can see. Let me remove the transaction, but I can see the amount the person is created, and I'll just visualize, right? So yeah, I can see all the money the person has gotten. I didn't put a filter, sorry, editor. So I want to filter by user ID 1. I want to get for this person alone. Yeah. So here I can see the user wallet ID, the ledger name. You can see the ledger name is Grace Agilore. I can see the ledger account number. So this is what's called joining tables together to get information. All these tables are scattered up everywhere, and I can see Grace Agilore's balance. So now I want to confirm Grace Agilore's balance is correct, right? I want to confirm there is no error happening. So this is what ledger history helps with, right? And I'm going to introduce ChatGPT that's going to help us here, right? So I have my ChatGPT here. So how do we use ChatGPT with SQL, right? So what we first do is to feed in it with data. You can't just start saying that, how can I get my balance on my table, right? We have to feed it in with data. And how we first start that is to give it the information of our user wallet, right? So we tell you that I have a user wallet, _wallet. It has the ID. It has the user ID. It has the ledger ID. And I think that's what's important there. Then I'll go to the other table, which is ledger, right? So ledger table. So this also has the ID, user ID, and okay, no, it has the ID, the name, the account number, and the balance. So we are feeding it with information, right? And we have the last one. We'll go to transaction, but let's just do ledger history. Then we have the ledger history, which has the ID, the amounts, and the ledger ID. So you now ask it like, how can I sum the ledger amounts to give me the balance, or put which what query should I run to sum the ledger amount to give the balance, right? So like I mentioned earlier, Kingsley, this ledger is to give us the amount. The transaction history cannot give us that, because the way ledger history is for fees, right? If we are adding fees, it has that record. Transaction does not have that record. You just put everything inside one table, like one row, right? But on the ledger history, what's going to happen is this. Let me show you. So example now, someone transferred 400 naira out. We are going to debit the same account 20 naira, right? So the person is transferring 400 naira out, but they have to pay 20 naira transaction fee. So we will do this double debit, 400 naira first for the account and 20 naira. But if we go to the transaction, the 400 naira here is just here, right? And the fees is here, which is 20 naira, right? So this one just shows everything that is there. But on our ledger, right, what the ledger history is good for is, if I should add everything together, it's going to give us the actual balance of the user, right? And we can now know if there's fraudulent thing happening or there's no fraudulent thing happening. So once we now go here, like, where should I query? What query should I run to some ledger amount to give the balance? So I'll give ChatGPT this, right? So he writes everything for me, right? So he select ledger ID, some amount as total amounts from ledger history, group by ledger ID, and it gives us this amount. So you can now start learning more things, right? Like, oh, okay, how can we make this thing better? Or how can we, like, how can I improve my knowledge of SQL with what ChatGPT has given? But if I should run this here, right? And I run this, there's a place I can run SQL query, pass the good ledger, run this, and pass the run button. And it's going to give me all the details of the balance, right? I can pass the name there, so it gives us that also. Sorry, that should be from ledger history. Okay, so I can join. Let me tell you to join it to the ledger. It didn't give me join with the ledger and give it a name. All right, so let me run this here again and run it. So we can see open flow as this amount, Grace Agilore as this amount. We can now compare, right? Like, okay, what is in their balance, right, itself? So we can see current balance. We can now compare if there's fraud going on, right? Why is it saying does not have this in the, give me a moment, sorry, let me just see the tables and database, open link, new. So you have to know the columns, right? You can't just put things here. So let me just check the database for the ledger. Okay, yes, balance, not current balance, sorry. So balance. Aha, so we can see, like, for OPay flow, the same thing. For OPay flow, the same thing. For OPay company revenue, the same thing. But for Grace Agilore accounts, someone has manipulated that balance, but we're able to track what is going on with this actual balance. This is what is coming from the ledger. We've calculated everything, and it just gives us this. But Grace Agilore is saying they have 28,540. And it also gives us information. Let's say we are working on a fintech app and one customer calls and it's like, my balance is not balancing. No, I did this, I did that, right? Just want to compare the balance, right? Get the sum of their ledger and compare it with the balance here. And if it does not match, that means you know where the error is coming from. Probably the backend engineer is not doing something right, or someone is stealing money, right? And it helps you solve, as a PM, you're not able to, like, okay, fine, something is wrong. And the reason why this is happening is because you put in the accounting ledger into it. So let's start from the beginning, right? When we were creating this transaction, like creating this PRD and adding this table flow and all of that, right? What we've been able to do is explain to the engineer, like, okay, we need the ledger system. You've broken it down to them, right? That we need this ledger system for us to be able to track inflow and outflow. And now there's a problem, a customer call that their balance is not connecting, right? You cannot run this query. Go to ChatGPT, give ChatGPT like, oh, these are my table structure looks like, right? Give me a query to run, right? And just enter Metabase if that's what your company uses, which is quite common. This is all your company uses, and run this query, and you can see that, oh, okay, something is actually wrong. The customer is not lying. If the customer is like lying, then you're like, okay, fine. When did you notice this? You can dive deep into this and run more queries to identify where the problem is coming from with that SQL knowledge. And with this is actually sorry for a PM, because your data engineer, what your data engineer is to give you reports and all of that, right? Your engineers might not really have time to, maybe they're working on new sprints. During that time, you've gone in, dive deep in, learned like what is actually wrong. Like, oh, okay, it's true, our balance is not actually correlating. Like, what is actually going on? Is an engineer sending money to themselves unknowingly, like not letting us know, and they're sending money to themselves? And what is going on? And the reason why you're able to get that is because you've made sure the engineer has implemented an accounting ledger system from the beginning. And the reason why you're able to implement that from the beginning is because you know SQL and are able to drive that into the PRD to achieve these results. I don't know if this makes sense. I know it's a lot, but yeah, I don't know if it makes sense. It's driving the point of how like being a technical PM can help from the decision part, from when you are creating the flow to when you are trying to figure out a problem. So I don't know if that helps, if that explains the reason why the knowledge can actually help you as a PM. All right. So before we call it a day, I know there's a lot to capture, and it's actually a very small class, right? It's a lot to capture, but I hope that this is like a learning point for you. This class basically was to just show how that knowledge can help to create, from creation to debugging to improvements, right? Is to show that, right? So you can start learning, right? From I think what you should do is to learn from, don't start from all those complicated courses first. Go to YouTube, there's some free courses, start from there. See how it is being done, like create some new data, then now start going maybe into a demi course or all of that, right? And trust me, once you have this knowledge, no engineer can lack of better word can bullshit you, right? Like you can easily rapport with them, like let them know that, okay, fine, how can we achieve this? Oh, we can achieve this, that, like telling that it's not possible. I know I was working with engineers and telling that this is not possible, we can't do this, it's impossible, right? Having this knowledge alone, even though you don't know how to code, but having this knowledge alone can help you defeat that part, right, of that, like of that blocker. Nobody can tell you that, oh, this is not possible, and like, oh, you don't know what is going on, we are trying to do this. But if you can like presenting it to them and you're giving them like, oh, fine, you can achieve this way, let's do it this way, or this is possible this way, right? And you because as a PM, you will carry out the research, not the engineer. The engineer might end up doing whatever they want to do, right? And it's not showing the true reflection of what you want for that product. But if you are contributing technically, like example through SQL, you're also putting your vision, you are driving that goal, and you achieve better results. You have to decipher what is going on, be able to solve problem on time, and able to get result on time. So yeah, I think that is it, right? Let me share this link, or maybe I'll share it with yeah, I'm going to share it so that everybody can have access to it. Available, anyone with the link, copy link. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any question so that we can close it up for today? But I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot, but just see it as the goal was to drive, like having SQL knowledge can help you interact more with your engineers and solve problems on time and also debug problems. That's it. So learn, come back to this video, look at it, and you understand better.
Thank you so much, Oluwole. That was, yeah, it's a lot, but it was amazing. as well. Yeah,
You're
so
welcome.
we're going to be taking just 2 questions because of time. So if you have question, please show it a raise of hand. If you have question, you can show it a raise of hand. I think I saw a question on the um chat earlier. Oh, okay. None.
Okay, you're asking if what I have can be viewed anywhere. Oh, so this is local, right? I don't have it like anywhere, right? But if you don't have access to Metabase, right? Like so what I used earlier, right? Just I think there are a lot of tons of data online where you can get like sample data. And if you don't have sample data, create your own data by yourself. I think also learning to create your data by yourself can make you learn SQL faster, right? Learn about foreign keys, learn about normalization, all of that, right? It kind of helps to build that mental knowledge. If it's to devote maybe like 3 hours a week, right? You learn one or two things. So yeah, but what I had was local, is not available anywhere. It was for I created it for this lesson specifically, right? Sadly, we have small time. I wish we could have another lesson to dive deeper into this, but the best thing you can do at the moment, right, is for you to start like learning the tutorials, like learning these things. Start from the basics and come back and to this video and see, okay, fine, this is how we approach it. These are applied to PRDs, and these are applied to solving problems. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi, thank you so much, OLUWOLE. I'm sorry, I joined very late. I registered, but I think it's because of my own time zone. That's why I didn't really get the time. So I don't know if this session was being or is being recorded.
Yeah, it's being recorded.
Yeah, this one is recorded. Yeah, it will be available on our YouTube channel.
Okay. That's PIP, or you could just share the
Yeah.
link so I would find myself.
Okay, I'll share it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll
thank you
share it
very
soon.
much. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome, Stephen. We can take your question and then wrap up from there.
Not really question, just to thank Luwali again for carry us to where we don't know. But we will catch up along the way.
Exactly. The goal is to catch on, right? So
So and
I'll share my LinkedIn, I'll share my Twitter in case anybody wants to reach out on anything, right? I'm open to questions, right? So you might just reach out to me. I think,
I still
yeah.
have some of the question even before this class. I have some of the question before this class on LinkedIn that I'm yet to receive answers. Please, can you
Okay,
please
on message, right? Yeah, no problem. I'm going to. Sorry, I've been quite. It's been hectic these past few weeks, but I'm going to try to reply. So apologies on that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah,
All
enjoy the
right.
rest of your day.
All
And
right. Thank you so very
uh,
much.
thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate this. So yeah.
Yeah. Oluwale, can you maybe share your social media handles again? And also, I think you can, like, everyone can drop their question in the Slack channel as well. So that way, Oluwale can also attend to them as well there, and everyone gets to also, learn from whatever question you're asking and the response you're getting. So in case you're not a part of the community yet, I've just dropped the link to join our Slack channel. So yes, thank you so very much, everyone, for joining the call. Yeah, if you're joining us for the first time, this is PEEP webinar, People in Product webinar. Webinars like this happen twice a month on the second and fourth Thursday of every month by 7 p.m. We also have interview prep session, which is held every 2 Tuesdays in a month, and we have bi-weekly check-in calls every second Saturday of the month. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, guys.